Hey, what's up, my friend? So in this video, it's all about how to trade Bitcoin even if it's in a bubble, right? Is it in a bubble? I have no idea, right? I can't predict the markets. All I can do is to look at the price chart, right? Read the price action and then find possible entries and exits to trade this particular market. So with that said, right, here's my take on how to, trade Bitcoin. I'm going to cover two main things. Number one, where I think it's a good buying opportunity to long Bitcoin, the level that I'll be looking at. And number two is that for those of you who are long, right, how can you actually protect your open profits, right? Because you don't want to see your profits, surge to the moon and then you give back everything and more when Bitcoin, if it does collapse. So you want to protect your open profits, and I'll share with you how to go about doing it later on. So first thing first, right? Where is a good buying opportunity on Bitcoin? So let me share with you, right? So looking at Bitcoin historically, you can see that this market tends to retrace about 30 to 40%. So if I just go back in time, right, you can see over here this this retracement from this high to this low. It's a 33% retracement, about 33.3%. Okay, so how do I get this figure? It's quite simple actually. You find out the value of this high over here. So just let's call it H. And the points that Bitcoin retrace are the number of points that Bitcoin retrace. Let's call it R. Okay, so you take R, which is the retracement amount, how many points that Bitcoin retrace R, and you divide by H, which is the high that Bitcoin had at that point in time, and you just multiply by 100, and you'll get somewhere along 33%, which I have shown over here. Okay, so you can see that moving on progressively, right? This one over here, we have a retracement of about 37.6%. This one is about 40% retracement. The recent one is about 29%. Okay, so generally the idea is that Bitcoin tends to retrace about 30 to 40%. Don't ask me why, right? Maybe it's a a Fibonacci ratio or something like that. I have no idea, right? Don't ask me why. All I can tell you is what has happened in the past, and there's a possibility that it could repeat again in the future. So with that said, right, the second thing I want to point out is this, right? So this is the retracement that Bitcoin tends to exhibit. Another pattern that Bitcoin tends to exhibit is this what I call the previous resistance turn support, right? So it's a classical technical analysis principle, right? Where if a market breaks above resistance, right, it tends to act as a previous resistance turn support. And in this Bitcoin market, right, somehow, right, it tends to respect this phenomenon quite well. So moving on, right, you can see that another one here, previous resistance turn support is quite close, almost reaching it. We have another one here, previous resistance turn support. Another one here, previous resistance or previous swing high that act as a area of support. Okay, so one thing to note is that in all things in trading, right, it's not an exact science. So you don't expect the price to come to the exact precise level, because support and resistance, they are not levels to start with. They are an area on your chart. So treat them as such, right, as an area on your chart, right? Don't treat them as specific levels where the market must turn at an exact precise turning point that you have anticipated. Because if you do that, right, you'll be more, I would say, disappointed than not. Okay, and another one here, I see this is not exactly a very obvious level, but I see one here, right, previous resistance turn support. I think if you go down to the 4-hour time frame, this will be much more apparent, as you can see over here. Previous resistance, this is an area of resistance. So with that said, another thing to note is that from this high down to this previous resistance that could become support, it's about 32% retracement, which is within the range that Bitcoin tends to retrace historically. Okay, so I would say, if you ask me, right, the range to look at would be somewhere here. Okay, possibly here. Okay, so it's about the 10,000 to 11,000 area. That's a range where you can look for buy setup, right? So because this, number one, right, is near the previous resistance turn support, we trace about the 30% plus region. So this is an area to look for, and plus all this round number, it's a psychological factor to take into consideration. So this is a 10,000 to 11,000 area where Bitcoin could potentially retrace to, and from here continue its move higher. So again, right, I don't suggest you blindly just put a buy limit order and go along, right? Again, you can wait for a price rejection, right? A bullish candlestick pattern to show itself before you take on a long setup. Okay, so this is one way you can go about, trading Bitcoin towards the long side. So this is an area that I find that is worth looking at. The second thing I want to discuss about is this, right? Is that, let's say, right, you are already in Bitcoin, and how can you actually protect your open profits, right? This is important because you don't want to, for example, you look at this chart. Okay, it may seem easy just to write all this retracement, but if you are looking at this with money on the line, this retracement are not small. 30-40% retracement, especially for those buy and hold. I mean, I just can't imagine how someone can buy Bitcoin and just say a few $100s and hold it to this price over at this point, because the pullback, the retracement is so steep, right? If let's say you're up $1 million, the next few days you could be notice that your million has vaporized to left like 400k, right? You've just lost about 500-600k in open profit. So I just can't imagine how a normal human can actually endure that kind of retracement. So if you don't want to if you're not an investor and you don't want to swallow this type of deep pullback, what you can do is to have a trailing stop loss mechanism. Okay, so a very simple technique that you can use is that, let's say, for example, for whatever reason, you are, long over here, maybe, a previous resistance turn support, there's a bullish, engulfing pattern, you go long, right? And you're quite in the money right now. So how can you, exit your trade without giving back too much open profits? So there are a couple of techniques, right? The first technique that you can use is to use the previous candle low. Okay, so what I mean by this is that, so you can see that over here, this is the previous candle low, or this one is the previous candle low. I'll reference to this one since this is the first candle that occurred. So you want to exit your trade when the market closes below the previous candle low, right? I don't want to use this because this this I would reference to this one, even though it's not a previous candle, because this is a more conservative approach, right? So you can see that if you were to use this candle, and let's say this candle continue to make a wick down lower, all right, then the next candle make another wick down lower, you will never exit your trade. Okay, so you need to define a point where you say that, I'll reference from this particular candle, and if the market closes below the low, I'll exit the trade. So for this ones, I'll reference to this candle. If the market closes below this low, you exit the trade, right? That's your trailing stop loss. Okay, that's one approach. The second approach is that you can use a short-term moving average, because when the market goes parabolic, like what you're seeing right now, it's a parabolic market where the trend is very strong. You see the range of the candle is very big bodied bullish momentum candle. This is what I call a parabolic move. And in such instance, right, a very useful tool to use is a short-term moving average like the 10-period moving average. So you can see that this red line over here is the 10-period moving average. And you can see that market, respects it pretty well. It had a number of bounce off this here, here, and here. So one thing, right, how you can use this moving average is if the price closes below the 10-period moving average, that would be an exit signal for you to exit your long Bitcoin trade. So these are a couple of ways that you can trail your stop loss on Bitcoin, right? Still to ride the move. Hopefully there is further upside to gain, but at the same time you want to protect whatever open profits you have, right? Because you don't want to risk giving back everything and more. Okay, so with that said, right, this is my take on Bitcoin. Just a quick recap. Number one, right, I share with you that within the 10 to 11,000 area is a potential buying opportunity if the price action does presents itself. Why? Because it's about the retracement of about 30+% plus the psychological factor of number of 10,000, 11,000, right? Plus previous resistance turn support, right? So this is a good possible entry. I use the word possible entry to look for a long setup. Second thing to talk about is the exits, right? I said that you can use either the, let's call it the previous daily low, right? So the previous day low, you can reference it. If the market closes below it, you can exit your trade. Or you can use a short-term moving average like the 10-period moving average to trail your stop loss. Okay? Okay, so if you've enjoyed the Bitcoin video so far and you want to learn more about my trading approach, you can go down to tradingwithrayner.com. Right, then just scroll down a little bit, right, and you'll see this guide, the ultimate guide to price action trading. Right, I suggest you download this because it's free, right, and you'll learn how to better time your entries and exits. You learn about support, resistance, and even a simple price action trading strategy that you can use today. So go down to my website, tradingwithrayner.com. I'll put the link below, right, and download this ultimate guide to price action trading. It's free, okay, and it will strongly complement to whatever you've learned in this video earlier. So with that said, right, I have come to the end of this video. If you have any feedback, comment, just let me know below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe and the like button, and it will mean the world to me. So with that said, I'll talk to you soon.